The Netherlands is in turmoil. For the first time in history, a far-right government, barely 11 months old, has collapsed. At the center of it all, one man, Geert Wilders. The controversial populist pulled his party out of the ruling coalition, shattering the fragile alliance over one explosive issue: migration. Just weeks before hosting a critical NATO summit, the Dutch government has plunged into chaos, raising questions not just about national politics, but the future of Europe's far-right movement. Was this truly about policy? Or is there something deeper behind Wilders' sudden exit? This is the story of how a political gamble brought down the Netherlands government, and what it could mean for the rest of Europe.
Proposal to the Iranian regime that the president hopes they will accept, and if not, they will face grave consequences, as the president himself has reiterated. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline.
You're welcome.
A couple of things, if I may. Firstly, can you confirm whether or not President Trump is going to be going to the NATO summit in The Hague later this month?
I can confirm he will be going to the NATO summit, yes.
Great, thanks. And another question on the Netherlands, in fact. Just wondering if you have any reaction to the collapse of the Dutch government there after the anti-EU and anti-Islam leader Geert Wilders, who's been described as the Dutch Trump, pulled out of the government there.
I don't have a comment on that, but certainly we should and we will get you one, okay?
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So for years, radical leftists and Islamists have been calling for so-called globalize the Intifada. Do you believe this is a call for violence against Jews? And do you think these attacks on Jews around our country is what globalizing the Intifada looks like?
I don't want to speak to the merits of those claims without looking into them, but as I said, any violence against Jewish Americans will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Absolutely. And also, Secretary of State Rubio made an announcement saying he'll be revoking visas of certain Chinese students, including those with connections to the Chinese Communist Party. Does that include sons and daughters of politicians, presidents, and chairmen?
Again, Secretary of State Rubio has the right to revoke visas, and he made the announcement that the State Department will begin to aggressively revoke those visas of Chinese students who are in our country, namely those with Chinese Communist Party ties, or those who could be a threat to our national security and the interests of the United States. Should both of
What is President Trump doing to ensure that a similar internal drone attack doesn't happen here in the US, given this was done at pretty low cost, very stealthily? You know, it obviously raises questions about our own security, particularly for US aircraft here.
It absolutely does, and that's why the president nominated Secretary Hegseth and has approved some of the changes that have been made at the Pentagon to ensure that we have the most lethal fighting force in the world, and that the United States military is the best, the biggest. That's why he wants the One Big Beautiful Bill to be passed, because it increases our defense spending. It's why he also launched the announcement of the Golden Dome to prevent from missile strikes and attacks in the future, and the president has a full understanding, I can tell you because I've spoken to him about it, about the future of warfare and how drones are a big part of that. And I will not get ahead of our policy team, but I think you can expect to see some executive action on that front in the very near future.
Ik heb de minister-president net ook laten weten dat ik de PVV-bewindslieden uit het kabinet zal terugtrekken.
Dat met het vertrek van de PVV er onvoldoende draagvlak is in de Tweede Kamer voor dit kabinet.
Het asielbeleid ooit en het strengste beleid tot de strengste landen van Europa te horen. We hebben een plan voorgesteld om de grenzen te sluiten voor asielzoekers, ze tegen te houden, te weg te sturen. Daar heb ik de handtekening van de coalitiegenoten, voormalig coalitiegenoten moet ik zeggen, onder gevraagd. Althans onder een merendeel van die maatregelen. Dat hebben ze niet gedaan. Ze zeggen van nou ja, dien er maar in. Of misschien dat we een motie kunnen indienen om het te onderzoeken. Of vraag je minister maar om iets te maken. Maar dat is natuurlijk geen garantie dat iets door een ministerraad of door de Tweede Kamer komt. Dus ik kon niets anders doen nu dan te zeggen, dan trekken wij onze steun aan dit kabinet in.
Die een weerslag hebben gevonden in het regeerprogramma. De afgelopen maanden heeft het kabinet hard gewerkt aan de uitvoering daarvan. Maar als bij één partij de wil ontbreekt om daarmee door te gaan, kan je niet met elkaar verder. Dat ik direct hierna naar de koning ga om het ontslag van de PVV-bewindspersonen aan te bieden. De overige bewindspersonen gaan demissionair door.